Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and it's continuing red weeks for me. Unfortunately, I'm down about 12,000, so sort of 3-4% against the S&P of up 0.43%, and the Nasdaq up 0.38%. Both sort of seem to have a little bit of a drop in the sort of middle of the week, and then rose towards the end of the week. We had quite a good non-farm payrolls, which I will come back to. So yeah, it's been sort of an up and down week. Gold and silver sort of taking a bit of a knock, but nothing sort of too bad. And I should say that I withdrew the Glencore cash that I had in here from selling that, and put that into Interactive Brokers plus £1,000. So yeah, that was a small add. That's not included in the returns that I mentioned, of course, but will be next week. So no earnings this week. We just finished Q2. So no earnings this week. We just finished Q3, and we'll be sort of starting to get earnings in a couple of weeks, usually starting with TSMC, so we'll see. But we had sort of the crypto miners update, and we had an acquisition from Coeur Mining, my biggest holding, or biggest gold and silver miner, at least in the ISA, not so much in Interactive Brokers on the option side, but I have left this as sort of my biggest miner in the ISA. Sort of still do like, well, have been liking their silver exposure, where Equinox have none at all. And yeah, they've sort of doubled down on this by acquiring Silvercrest. So yeah, Silvercrest are a very much a silver focused miner. They do sort of have a little bit of gold, but it's nothing sort of too much to add. Mainly what they are adding is sort of 9-10 million ounces a year of silver, but at a very good cost. So haven't sort of dug into, I will have to go looking at what their all-in sustaining cost is, but they're saying it should, well, they expect to generate 700 million of EBITDA and 350 million of cash flow in 2025, with the once the acquisition is done. Lower overall costs, higher overall margins. So there's, I mean, Coeur Mining's silver all-in sustaining cost is pretty high, so it's not that difficult to sort of lower that cost. But overall, I suppose you got to see it as good. They've dropped 8.9%, as you can see there on the Friday on the announcement of this. Companies generally do. When they sort of make an acquisition, they've paid, I think it was 18%, depending on, they've said 22% premium based on the October the 3rd closing price. So obviously prices go up and down sort of during the day. It's 18% premium based on the 20-day volume weighted average. So prices sort of to be determined, I suppose. But yeah, 1.7 billion for 9 to 10 million ounces of silver and a bit of gold. It sort of maybe seems a little bit high. Coeur Mining, isn't sort of all that much more than that. I think 2.3 billion or something. And they have sort of 10, 13 million ounces, I think, of silver and sort of 300,000 ounces of gold. So it's quite a expensive acquisition, but it looks like you're paying for that low all-in sustaining cost. They said in 2023 they sold 10.25 million ounces at a cash cost of $7.73. So all-in sustaining cost will be quite a bit above that, I expect. But yeah, I'll have to go looking. Something I didn't like, of course, is their Coeur Mining's expanded Rochester mine is in Nevada, but their other mine, Palmarejo, is in northern Mexico, and the new Silvercrest Las Chispas mine is in Mexico. And Mexico is sort of turning anti-mining, which was sort of part of the reason I was considering a switch maybe to sort of a more US, North America at least, US or Canada focused miner, because the sort of Mexico risk is certainly there. It's sort of what has mainly put me off switching to Fresnillo, with them being sort of largest silver miner in the world at sort of reasonable cost. I have been quite tempted, but yeah, the Mexico risk isn't great, and Silvercrest are essentially all in Mexico, so not ideal to be paying a huge premium, well, somewhat of a premium, 20% for a Mexico mine, which doesn't seem on the face of it all that, that value for money. Maybe it is sort of low all-in sustaining cost and it's worth it, but we'll see. So they're a bit of benefits to Coeur shareholders. You do start to sort of compare them to Pan American Silver, really. 21 million ounces. I think Pan American were at sort of 24, 25. They had sort of been saying they want to get to 30. But they are closer to sort of 900,000 to a million ounces of gold, where Coeur are now going to be at 432,000 ounces. So they are only adding 100,000 ounces of gold from the Silvercrest acquisition. It's nothing too special, but yeah, it's you do start to sort of compare them a little bit more maybe to someone like Pan American on a market cap basis. I'm guessing it's just sort of rough napkin maths that the combined company is going to be sort of about 4 billion, maybe a little bit less. Obviously Pan American are quite a bit above that, but obviously with the sort of 500,000 ounces extra of gold and a bit extra of silver, they are worth that. So on to the crypto miners. We've had CleanSpark's results. They had sort of given us a little bit of an update that they'd been somewhat battered by Hurricane Helen. They had to shut down a fair bit of their sites for a little bit, but they're sort of mostly back up. They've said with the exception of about 45 megawatts worth, but they've said sort of no lasting damage, and they were pretty happy with that. So that's good. They've grown to 27.6 exahash, which is a solid number. They're still quite a bit above Riot in terms of operating hash rate, and expansion efforts have not slowed down. They're actively racking miners in newly acquired sites and existing facilities. As part of the upgrade plan, they expect to reach 30 exahash during October, and I think for end of this year they were saying 36, and they are looking for 50 and beyond in sort of fiscal year 2025. So looking good. They look forward to providing 2025 updates in the coming weeks. So interesting. And they've done 493 Bitcoin for September. Pretty good. It takes Bitcoin holdings to 8,049, given that, as the same seems to be every month, they sold 2.5 Bitcoin. Fleet efficiency now under 22, which is solid. And yeah, 27.6 exahash. So rather nice. And as I say, this was partly with the hurricane sort of affecting operations. They expect the remaining 45 megawatts to be restored in the coming days. So that's good, and sort of this month should be even better. Plus the extra 3 exahash that they're saying they should have in this month. It's sort of worth noting that they are still spreading themselves out further and further. They've got a small site in Dalton, Georgia. They've got their Sandersville, Georgia one, Tennessee, which they've now acquired 7 sites, just in Tennessee, and they expect those to be 5 exahash once miners are installed. They're still acquiring grid infrastructure, and that should be completed before the month's end. They've got Wyoming, they've got Mississippi, and the New York site where they had their hosting. They have chosen not to renew their hosting agreement with CoinMint. They want to focus on self-mining and they don't want to be hosting anymore. I think that was sort of just over 1 exahash in, they call it co-locations, so it's nothing too much, but that is set to expire on January 1st, 2025, so they'll have no more co-hosting. So moving on to Riot Platforms, it was sort of good and bad. They produced 412 Bitcoin, so I was kind of hoping that this would be a lot closer to CleanSpark this month, but not quite. They now hold 10,427 Bitcoin, having sold none at all of that. And then this is the bread and butter. The deployed hash rate on Rockdale is up 0.3 exahash, but we're really interested in operating. That is up from 8.2 to 9.7. I was hoping for a lot more than that, but that is average. It's very weird. They, they have deployed, which is end of the month, so 15 by the end of the month, and then they have average for the month. So they've got 11.9 deployed in Corsicana, and average operating is 8.6. So I'm assuming they are energizing all of these, because if you take sort of 8.6 as a midpoint and sort of double that up again, you're up to 12 exahash. So yeah, a bit weird that they don't just do end of month operating, because we have to sort of guess basically. So Kentucky, their other site, they've added 0.1, very small addition, and that is 1.2 operating. So if you do some sort of rough maths, I think I get them to about 24 exahash for the end of the month operating. So 24 out of 28.2 is pretty good. They said they wanted to get to 28.2, or get to 28 basically, by the end of this month, or by the end of Q3, so end of September, and they've got to that on deployed, but operating is just lagging a little bit behind. But if they are at 24, I'm not too sort of unhappy with that. If they carry on upgrading existing machines throughout the month, they should sort of close some more of that gap. Power credits was very low again, 1.9 million. This is the final month, I think they're saying, of the big power credits, and 300,000 in demand response credits. So that does push all-in power cost up, 3.5 cents at Rockdale compared to 2 cents last month. Corsicana was a little bit lower, Kentucky was a little bit higher, so yeah, all-in power cost is 3.5 cents now. But yeah, in the sort of autumn months, you would expect sort of Bitcoin produced to be a little bit higher, because they're not curtailing. Give you their usual sort of pictures showing the quite the scale of this Corsicana site, what 1 gigawatt brings you. We do sort of wonder if they are in more talks, or any talks, with AI people. They've sort of said that they're Bitcoin focused and Bitcoin only, but 1 gigawatt is certainly very, very attractive, I would think, to some of the AI boys. And you could sort of take a core scientific approach, say 10% of this power can be used for AI purposes. I don't think they quite need, with their new acquisition of block mining, I think they're looking at 2 gigawatts now, which I don't think they're going to be sort of getting anywhere close to anytime soon. So yeah, jumping on the AI bandwagon sort of wouldn't be the worst thing, but it looks like something they're not going to do. And yeah, they've reiterated their targets. 28.2 is now actual for Q3, and we've now got the Q4 target as the next one. 36.3 now. It's up a little bit since the acquisition, and yeah, half one. So end of June next year, 43.6, and end of next year, 56.6, which is rather nice. That's with the future expansion of their new acquisition in Kentucky. So very nice, but we need to see that operating hash rate increase. But I do like the over 10,000 Bitcoin. It's just a you know, if Bitcoin starts going up, it's something that they can sort of throw around, and it just sounds a little bit better than you know, sort of clean sparks like 8,000, although, you know, they should be sort of pushing 10,000 by early next year if they carry on. And then we have Hive, obviously Hive, the much smaller miner. They have mined 112 Bitcoin for the month. They do sell some from the looks of it. They've only increased to 2,604. They haven't sort of, don't think they actually say sort of, you know, in quite as many words, we've sold it, but yeah, they were at sort of 2,000, I think 2,560 last month. So it looks like they have been sort of selling over half of what they've mined, and they're purchasing new miners, S21 Pros, they note, sort of reinstalling or replacing existing miners, updating the efficiency, which is good. And they ended the month with 5.6 exahash, so incredibly slow growth, and I sort of have been happy about that as long as they're not because they haven't been diluting, but they are actually diluting, which I'll come back to in a second. They sort of keep making a big thing that you know, they're a relatively small market cap, 380 million I think now, and they have 160 million of Bitcoin on the balance sheet, so that is nice, to be fair. So I did kind of think their strategy of sort of not really expanding that much, but not diluting, would pay off in the end if Bitcoin rose, and you know, they had sort of not a huge amount of shares, but they are now filing a shelf prospectus for $300 million, which is almost the current market cap. You know, well positioned to support ongoing ASIC upgrades and the expansion in Paraguay. So obviously Paraguay doesn't pay for itself. It's more than doubling the hash rate. But yeah, I was kind of a little bit surprised to see quite such a big offering. And yeah, it does make them sort of a diluting to expand company now. And sort of Paraguay, I'm not sure is, you know, the absolute best place to be expanding, but yeah, we'll have to see. And this expansion obviously isn't coming online until late next year, which you sort of expect potentially the bull market to be over. So poor timing, I think, from Hive, sort of waiting and not expanding. They kept saying we're being prudent, we don't want to be diluting to expand, and now they finally decided to dilute and expand at the wrong time. Basically, you know, you've got sort of CleanSpark and Riot sort of drastically increasing hash rate, hopefully now ready for the bull market. But yeah, if you're expanding sort of next August, next September, I think it could be end up sort of being a bit too late. But we'll see. I still think they are good value, but I've been buying a little bit more Riot than Hive recently. So, looking at some economic news for the week, we had sort of a reasonable amount. Nationwide, I just still love this. Nationwide house price index for September, 3.2% up on the year. So, the interest rates have had almost no effect at all. It was up 0.7% for the month of September. So, yeah, you can't keep house prices down. We saw some sort of PMI numbers, pretty much in line with expectations, and September provisional CPI. I love the EU come out with September CPI the day after the month finishes. Only a provisional, but that was sort of on track. Headline CPI negative for the month, and sort of core CPI up 1.8% for the year, or core up 2.7, headline up 1.8% for the year. So yeah, relatively low, both quite a bit down from previous month. You had some ISM numbers from the US, but I sort of tend to wait for non-manufacturing PMI. Atlanta GDP now thing that they do every other day is back down to 2.5%, but yeah, that's all over the place. EU unemployment still at 6.4%. yeah, it was Thursday that it was sort of Thursday and Friday that we were really looking forward to. So we had continuing jobless claims, sort of near enough on track. What is that? 1,000 lower than last month. The initial jobless claims slightly higher than expected, but it's not throwing off sort of recession vibes. And yes, then we had the ISM non-manufacturing numbers. So non-manufacturing PMI 54.9, which is much higher than expectations and much higher than last month. So with the jobless claims as well, sort of indicating no recession. Non-manufacturing prices as well up, higher than last month, higher than expectations. So everyone was pretty happy. And then Friday, the payrolls. So average hourly earnings, both higher than last month and expectations. Hourly earnings on the monthly 0.4%. And of course, the non-farm payrolls number itself, 254,000. Way higher than expectations, way higher than Wednesday's non-farm ADP number. So, yeah, everyone was over the moon with that. Private, and it is private as well. Not that, but not a huge amount in government jobs. 223,000 in private. So, unemployment rate as well down to 4.1%. Everyone was sort of saying was last month a blip, coming down from 4.3 to 4.2. The SARM rule got triggered, and everyone's sort of saying as soon as unemployment starts rising and rising, it just carries on up, and it'd be going to 5%, 6%. But we've had 2 months in a row of down 0.1%. So unless it's a 2-month temporary dip and it's still going to rocket up, we don't know. But certainly numbers at the moment don't seem to indicate that at all. And obviously the dollar sort of rocketed up on this news, sort of expecting very little in the way of rate cuts sort of towards the end of the year now compared to what they were expecting. Next FOMC is the day after the US election, and I expect they're probably going to do 25 basis points unless something sort of drastically changes. Might even do nothing, but we'll see. I think the sort of expectations of cuts have been lowered in the last couple of days. So looking at the portfolio, have had some rises in the invest account. To be fair, TSMC sort of, I think, pushing all-time highs. 181 is looking good. Broadcom looking very good as well, 176. Prosus, admittedly, I did sell my Alibaba and Baidu too early, of course. They've been sort of still rocketing up, but I do have Prosus still. That's been doing reasonably well. Tencent sort of not doing quite as well as Alibaba and Baidu, but doing okay. And so yeah, that's sort of 12,600 now. Rather high. It's sort of getting a little bit tempted to take a bit of profit from that and maybe put it into my black hole of interactive brokers. And then, yeah, sort of still getting a little bit of China love in the Vanguard emerging markets. That was sort of, pushing under 10,000 for a little while, and that's now way above that, 10,700. So pretty nice. Got a little dividend from that as well. So yeah, not too bad. Obviously, that's only about 30% China, I think, and then a load of India, which just carries on sort of doing well over the long term, basically. Stellantis sort of looking horrendous at the moment. We got a profit warning, I believe, and sort of fears over Chinese imports. Looks like the EU are putting more tariffs on, so we'll have to see. This is a bit of a war, but I do want to see the third quarter revenue numbers and shipment numbers sort of this month, see how bad things are. Himax as well, sort of petering around, not doing all that much. And that is the whole portfolio in the invest account now, only 6 holdings. On the ISA side, there's not too much change really. CleanSpark sort of back up to the biggest holding. Coeur Mining, as you say, dropped 9.5% yesterday on that acquisition news. So that's given my portfolio most of the knock. And Equinox Gold sort of bobbling around. Riot Platforms rose a little bit. All of these sort of haven't moved all that much really. Have been hit by the dollar rising a little bit. On the interactive brokers side, KGHM smashing it at the moment, 161. Pan American sort of still bobbling around the same price. That really needs silver to move. Sort of it's $32, but I think it needs a move past there to really do anything. And the invest side have been sort of adding quite a lot. I do have my 6,250 in cash in there now, ready for next week. But I have been added a little bit to Equinox actually. It's sort of come into a reasonably nice range, and I think this coming quarter Q3 results, hopefully sort of, don't know whether they're the end of this month or the beginning of November, I think should look sort of really positive, and people are still in the forecasts and in presentations and stuff, they're still basing this year's gold price on, I think, $2,200, and I think it was next year $2,240. So yeah, we're at 2650 now, and I can't imagine it's going to drop to 2240 next year. So yeah, I think some of these estimates maybe need to come up. So yeah, very happy with Equinox, and happy even to add a little bit. I am looking at the January 2027 options now. They've come out, but no one seems to be biting. I've sort of put a few bids in and got nothing at all out of it yet. I don't think anyone's selling, but yeah, they're certainly on my radar, because 2026 should be a very good year for Equinox as well. Obviously, the crypto miners is not something I would be wanting to have sort of 2027 options for, because expecting the end of the bull market to be end of next year. So yeah, I've been adding to Hive, more Hive, and quite a bit more Riot. So Riot and Hive are almost similar size positions now in here. I did add a sort of just 5 contracts, I think, of High Max. They sort of came down very low, and I have sort of low ball bid on those. So that sort of got slightly filled, but don't really know how they're going to do with this sort of Chinese recession. They don't seem to be getting any of the sort of stimulus love, because they're obviously Taiwan. They do some business, they do a lot of business in China, but yeah, they're not really a benefit of the stimulus from the looks of it. They need their own business to do well. So yeah, that was about it. Not a lot of move in the others, small positions, and I just sort of need to delete Core Scientific. So we'll have to see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you guys are buying anything, and like and subscribe. See you soon.